on that tutorial that I wrote up in 2017 on this Pro Mini screw terminal logger, I mentioned disconnecting power to the SD card. I'm still a little bit cautious about recommending this one. We've had no problems with this mod so far, but it's not one that I would recommend for people who are beginners because it requires you to know a lot more about the programming. You have to handle the shutdown of the SPI bus and the restart of the SPI bus. So there's a whole code component, and there's a whole page on the blog that describes the modifications you have to make to the programming. But this board, because it has a ground connector right there, I can throw a MOSFET in here, and so one of the lines, the controlling line here, this will go out to one of my digital pins, and this pin will basically turn it on and off this MOSFET. This is an N-channel MOSFET acting as a ground line switch. So I can take this ground that's at the back of the board, run it through the MOSFET, control it with a digital pin, and then use this as the ground line for the SD card. So this is how I implement the ground line switch. Again, there's more details on that if you go to the website, and I talk about the software modifications you have to do. I wouldn't recommend this for beginners. The RTC mod is really just a question of can you solder. Same with the voltage regulator mod. They're both totally independent. They don't affect your logger code in any way. They just do their job. This is one that does affect the code on your data logger quite a bit. So I wouldn't recommend it unless you already understood everything I just said about the fact that this is an N-channel MOSFET acting as a ground line switch, and you have to restart the bus after you disconnect power. If all of that made sense, then by all means, go ahead. This is how I do the mod, but I wouldn't recommend it for beginners.